Hello everyone, it's Cole from Spolar Power Load. I'm going to make you guys a video on the installation of this new Billet Vibrator Motor Bracket. This right here replaces the older standard spring steel one that we've been using for the last 30 plus years. So it's just a nice upgrade. The fit and finish is perfect. Billet aluminum, anodized, pretty much lasts you forever. So you'll get this and you'll receive this 1032 by 1 inch screw. It'll replace the standard 3/4 inch that's normally in there. So what we're going to be working on here, and I'm facing the machine backwards, so I'm at the back by the primer tray, your vibrator motor bracket. So this one here is the old spring steel one. They work okay, but sometimes they don't hold those motors very secure, and these wires right here will start to really vibrate up and down as the motor's going, and it ends up taking a toll on them, and they'll end up cutting themselves. So that new one has really done away with that. And another big feature is just simply when this motor wears out, changing it. A lot of people struggle with actually snapping that bracket off when they're trying to unload the tension on it to pull that motor out and put a new one in. But so anyways, yeah, we'll get to work on it. So this is going to be one of those projects where if you take 2 or 3 extra minutes to remove some stuff, it'll make life a lot easier with working on that. And you can probably see what I'm talking about. It's going to be this box. You don't have to take the box off and go through all that headache. You just have to remove those 3 screws that are down here. You have 1, 2, 3. Pull that pin and roller, and we'll mount this box aside so it gives us all the working room that we need. So I'll pull that pin and roller and remove those 3 screws. Okay, so I have those 3 screws removed. That's just kind of hanging there. Support it, and now remove your vibrator motor wires. And this whole assembly can actually come down and around. I'm kind of just rolling it, and I'm setting it right up on top of the primer tray like so. It will not balance there on its own, but you can use whatever kind of tape you have handy. Nothing too sticky. It doesn't need to be strong. We just literally want to support it up here for the time being. So I'll get that wrapped up and show you guys how I do it. Okay, so box is secured. I just used some masking tape. It does not take much. And now, as you can see, we have all kinds of working room to work on this part here and get that removed. So we'll get this vibrator motor actually taken out of the clamp, and then remove the clamp and begin the install on the new one. Alright, so we're ready to remove this old vibrator out of the old clamp. If your vibrator is working, it's completely fine. You can put it back into that new clamp, so you do not need to replace both items. If it's working fine now, it'll work just fine in the new one. Now when you remove this, you are going to put a flathead screwdriver in here just like so, and you're actually going to turn it to release the tension on that clamp. You can see that motor's wanting to fall out, but you can't go too far. You'll shear it. I mean, it doesn't matter now because obviously you're doing this upgrade, but still you don't want to have a piece of metal flying at your face. So just do it to the point that you can sneak that motor out of there, which is right there. Now when you remove the motor, pay attention for black Sharpie marks. Typically they'll be on the away side, but if you look at this electrical terminal here, we'll inspect it. There is black Sharpie there. So all that is indicating is the way we want this wire to connect to it, and that's controlling the polarity and the way the motor rotates. If when we're building these machines here at the shop, if we find that rotating the motor one way or the other feeds primers better, then we will mark it for future disconnection and connections so you can put it back together the same way. So, and like I said, most of the time, all the ones I've seen, that mark will be going to the right hand side of the machine. So if you're in front of your reloader looking at it, that black wire and black mark should be the right. But motor's done. Just set that aside. Now there's one 1032 screw up in here holding that clamp on. We'll get that removed and we're ready to put the new one on. Okay, so the old one for the most part is completely unscrewed. Pull that one out. You don't need the clamp or the bolt, so set them aside. Here's the new one. you can see there's a shoulder in there. That shoulder is going to be facing forward to the mass of the machine. But anyways, remove these 4 screws completely so you can split the 2 in half, and then we'll get it hung up there. Okay, so here's the half that you want. Take those 4 screws out, and this is what it'll look like. Now you can really see that shoulder well. That shoulder is going to be facing that way, towards the main shaft of your machine, you could say. And that will just go up in there with the shoulder facing forward, just like so. All the machine lines should match up. If you're doing it right, you'll know that the back is flush and looks clean, the side comes off looking clean. So yeah, now you'll use that 1-inch bolt to hold that in there, and we'll be ready to put the other half of it and the motor in there. Okay, so the first half's on there, and like I was saying earlier, if you pay attention to this line right here, as long as that's flush like it is, it's kind of hard to see, but if you have that flush there, then you know that you have your clamp on there straight. So everything will look like that. Now go ahead and start putting the lower half on. You don't want to tighten it all the way up. Do not put the motor in yet. Let's get the 4 screws in and just get them in 1 or 2 turns. Okay, so I got the 4 screws installed. Lower half is on. Like I said, I might have 1 turn on each one of those. That's all that's holding it in there. The reason we do that is so that that eccentric weight can sneak its way past that shoulder and put that motor in. So you're ready to put the motor in. When you go to put it in, pay attention to that black line. If you have one, like I said, typically they should be facing to the right of the machine. So we're going to put that one back over there. You can kind of just weave that in to clear that shoulder. Touch it up against that shoulder. Put your terminals nice and horizontal. And you're ready to start snugging into those 4 screws. Pull into them evenly. I mean, you honestly can just hold it up there like that and take all the slop out of it and start snugging in. If you notice one side's tightening more than the other, just pay more attention to the other. You know, try to get it to clamp. We want that clamp force to be as even as possible. So I'll get those tightened up. Okay, those 4 are tightened up. The gap is nice and even on both sides. Once you get the gap even, go ahead and snug into them all and just make them secure. One thing I forgot to mention, when you pull this old clamp off, you can see there, it's hard to see a little bit of the remaining residue. We use a one-sided like 3M adhesive kind of a foam just to kind of hold those motors into those old clamps. If you notice any of that material on that motor before you go to put it into the new clamp, if you do see like a sticky residue or any kind of a buildup, use some rubbing alcohol or acetone or lacquer. Don't drench the motor, but like wet your rag and clean that off. We don't want that on there. This is a precision fit here with this new style bracket, and we want this to be down to the bare metal housing. So yeah, we're ready to go to the next step. All right, guys, we're ready to reinstall the charge bar cam back to its bracket and hook the wires back up, and we're pretty much there. So I'll get that flipped over and get those 3 bolts put back in. One thing to pay attention to, when you pull that off, you're going to see an old footprint of where that cam used to sit. Some of these models have slotted brackets to where that cam is adjustable. If you do not have slotted brackets, if they're just perfectly circular like that, then it's fixed. So you don't have to worry about this. But if you notice your holes here are slotted, try to match that old footprint. Like you can see that old footprint where that used to sit. Try to get it right back where it used to be when you put those back in. All right, I'll get that installed and go on to the next thing. All right, 3 bolts are tightened back up. Charge bar cam's nice and secure. We'll go ahead and install these wires. Remember to look for the color coordination. So there's the black one, goes on there, and your bare one goes on here. And that's it, guys. I mean, put your pin and roller back in up here. But other than that, that's the install of that new vibrator motor bracket. Looks clean, looks beefy. It's a part that should last you guys forever. So it's a pretty nice one. If you guys have any questions at all, just give us a call. All right, talk to you guys later. Have a great day.